My mother-in-law made an album of me giving birth without my permission.
That's a crazy photo album for sure.
Hello. Been having major issues with mother-in-law for a while now, but they have definitely ramped up ever since I gave birth to our first child, Dee Dee. By the way, this comes from Mama Drama Llama 15, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, right after I'd given birth, my husband and my mother were in the room. My mom took some photos of me and our beautiful little baby girl while we were doing skin to skin. I wasn't exactly paying much attention to anything else, but my front airbags were fully out, and a few of the photos my mom snapped featured my nips. Not a big deal at all. I trust my mother and knew she would either delete them or just never show them to anyone. I asked her to send them to me and to my husband as well. My husband then sent these photos to the family group chat we have with mother-in-law, sister-in-law 1, sister-in-law 2, brother-in-law, and brother-in-law 2. He accidentally included a couple photos that featured my nips.
Ooh.
Dude, come on.
Dude.
Do better. He was mortified and apologized profusely to me, then immediately demanded that his family delete them. They all texted back, including mother-in-law, saying no problem, and that of course they would delete them right away. Not something I particularly wanted them to see, but also it's just the nips. What's a few nip slips between family, LOL.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
Anyway, a month after I'd given birth, it was Mother's Day, and we were at mother-in-law's house. All of a sudden, mother-in-law comes up to me all excited, and in a high-pitched baby talk voice, she tells me, "I have something to show you."
Is it my nips?
Is it my nips? She leads me into the nursery that she put together at her house. Not something we asked her to do, nor did she ask us if she could. She sits me down in the rocking chair and hands me a photo album.
She was trying to be sweet.
I'm immediately confused and intrigued. I assume it must be something from when dear husband was a baby, as our baby was only a month old and barely had any photos taken of her, let alone enough for an album. I open it up, and immediately my jaw hits the floor as I see all of my birthing photos in the small slots of the album. No nip photos, at least so far. There were also hard copies of my ultrasound photos from across my pregnancy, which I wasn't even aware she had. The album also contained photos of me holding the baby, my husband holding the baby, several photos of mother-in-law holding her, and pictures of the nursery at mother-in-law's house. Mother-in-law was looking at me expectantly, and about 10 other members from her side of the family were roaming around, some taking a look too. I have since grown a much shinier spine, but at the time, I still wanted to keep the peace with mother-in-law and didn't want to upset or embarrass her by saying I didn't like it. Honestly, in the moment, I wasn't even sure how I actually felt about it or how to put the feeling into words, but it definitely made me uncomfortable. Flash forward a year, and so much has changed between my relationship with mother-in-law as well with her 2 daughters and their husbands. In this time, I have come to believe that mother-in-law was never naive, forgetful, or oblivious like so many people had told me over the 12 years I've known her. I used to think she meant well, even if the things she did rubbed me the wrong way. But every time I'd bring it up, her family would just brush me off and say things like, "Oh, that's just who she is. Not good enough."
It just feels like an invasion.
It does.
Of life.
I think that if those were her pictures, it'd be a little bit different, or if she had at least asked for permission, but
it could be coming from the right place, maybe.
But it seems like OP thought that originally, but now has proof that maybe that is not true.
Part of me still feels like it's sweet.
I think
there's a part of that's sweet, but yeah, no.
I think that's why OP didn't feel that she could say anything, because it is not outright bad, but still made her uncomfortable, which is valid, I think, because it is a very, even if it's not necessarily her unclothed, it's still her in a very vulnerable position.
Yeah.
hey, you know what? Consent is cool and sexy.
Yeah,
That is
it literally
true.
could have just been as easy like, hey, I would love to make you a photo album of these photos. Is that okay?
Yeah, we're just like not giving it to
Or
her
like-
in a group setting.
Yeah.
Or if it was
also
a photo
that.
album, like, hey, I want to make a photo album for you and your family, and it's very heartfelt. What photos do you want in there?
Yeah. Are there any photos that
Give
you
me the
don't want
thumbs
me to
up,
include?
thumbs down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nips, no nips?
What are you feeling? It didn't take long after the birth of my daughter for me to see mother-in-law for who she really is, which, in my opinion, is a covert, self-absorbed person. But that's a story for another time. My 17-year-old brother-in-law lived at home with mother-in-law, and once I became closer to him and his girlfriend, they opened up to me. They told me about all the nasty things mother-in-law has been saying about me, including about the photo album. So my mom isn't the best photographer, and she took many photos of me from very unfortunate and low angles with my newborn baby on my chest and double chins galore. Not something I'm all that bothered by if these photos are only being shared with close family and friends, but I learned from brother-in-law and his girlfriend that mother-in-law was showing the album to anyone and everyone who came to her house, even if they didn't know me. She would often say things like, hopefully the baby doesn't inherit all these chins, or oof, that's really not a great angle, is it?
Oh, shut up. Shut up.
So now we've gone very far from good intentions to she knows that these are photos that don't portray her daughter-in-law in a good light and is now actively making fun of her.
They're literally photos of you delivering a baby.
She just delivered a baby. She doesn't have to look like a freaking supermodel because she's a superhero. She just delivered a baby.
Like, who are you?
Oh, and I remember the nipple photos I mentioned earlier, the ones everyone, including mother-in-law, promised they had deleted. Turns out mother-in-law hadn't deleted them. Shocker. At least not before she had a chance to print them off. At the back of the album, there was a Walmart photo holder that had extra pictures in it, including those pictures. Photos mother-in-law had promised dear husband and me she had deleted. Surely she wasn't showing those to just anyone, though, right? Wrong. Yeah, she sucks.
This person needs to, like, go to the moon right
Well,
now. at
what
the
I
very
think
least.
needs to happen,
Just go away.
yeah, obviously the mother-in-law is at fault here, but OP's husband needs to do some damage control
Yeah.
because even though it wasn't intentional, he still caused this to an extent. I mean, he shared photos of OP in like not a good light, or not a good light, but you know, in a vulnerable state, unclothed, and he needs to go talk to his mom and say, "Hey, stop it! Give me the album. I'm taking it, and you don't get those pictures, and I'm gonna watch you delete them all." Like he needs to set some ground rules right now.
Agreed.
Yeah. Brother-in-law and his girlfriend told me that anyone who had seen the album had been shown the photos in the Walmart album too. First of all, the audacity? Who the heck makes a photo album with such intimate photos without first asking the people in them if that's all right? And who in their right mind would make an album like that? Keep it at their house and not give it to the new parents.
I'll tell you who. Someone who's obsessed with now the fact that they're a grandma.
Yeah, and
It's
she's
me.
like, I don't care about my daughter-in-law at all because baby,
It's my grandmother-in-law album.
and you can't take it from me.
No, it's mine.
But there is an update. But man, oh man, Everyday Loser says, okay, now I can sympathize with OP. Mother-in-law took it too far. That's the thing. OP had this kind of gut feeling of being uncomfortable when given that photo album, which like just first glance doesn't seem that nefarious,
Yeah.
but clearly was kind of the first crossing of the line.
Yeah. It definitely, the vibe is now like,
Yeah.
you are the vehicle. Look at this album I made of the vehicle that birthed my grandchild.
Yeah. And also
And it's-
insulting you.
Yeah.
While she shows this album.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's not even about you. She doesn't care about you. She just cares that now she has a grandbaby that's related to her via her son.
Yep. But there is an update. Sister-in-law sent photos and info from Daycare of our DD out to the rest of the in-laws without our consent. She works at the daycare.
Get her fired for that. Are you
That's
serious?
That's got to be illegal.
Get her fired for
Gotta
that.
be illegal.
That's insane.
John, we're going to get back to the story, but I got to tell you, I've been loving these pearls that I got in Colombia.
You are a delicious beaded man now.
I do feel more confident at the very least, but I think these pearls pale in the amount of confidence an OK Storytime membership can get you.
That's right. You get 60 plus hours a month of exclusive live stream content. That's advice that'll make you the best version of yourself.
It's only $5 a month, so go to the link in our description, youtube.com/OKOP show/join.
Crack open that oyster and get the blues. But let's get back to the story.
Hi, everyone. I'm struggling to find the right way to explain my perception of sister-in-law's actions to dear husband and wondering if anyone else would feel the same way I do about what's happened. Some backstory for context. About 6 months ago, my relationship with the majority of my husband's side of the family took a big nosedive when I decided to start standing up for myself and setting boundaries for our family. I, 30, used to have a pretty good relationship with sister-in-law, 28, until I set some hard boundaries with mother-in-law a few months ago and addressed some issues I was having with her. These issues stemmed from other family members telling me some rather nasty things sister-in-law had been saying about me. Sister-in-law took it upon herself to tell my dear husband how wrong I was for being so mean to mother-in-law. The text I sent mother-in-law addressing the issues was blunt and clearly showed that I was kind of angry, but in my opinion, it wasn't mean, it just maybe aggressive. Anyway, sister-in-law also told dear husband at this time that he needed to keep his wife/house in check.
Your house is out of order. What are you, a Game of Thrones character?
Keep
Shut
your
up.
wife in line. She's an adult.
Again, just an object, a vehicle,
Yeah.
a creature,
It's
your
like
wife.
she is the wife and she's the mother of this child that we want, in our lives.
Yeah.
But we don't care about your wife at all.
Yeah.
She said I was out to get mother-in-law for no reason and even suggested that they, all my in-laws, get together to hold some sort of intervention for me.
It's just an intervention where they take you out back and bury you
Yeah.
because nobody wants you.
What's the intervention?
Yeah.
You're too mean. I hope he's like, I'm enforcing boundaries because you keep sharing intimate pictures of me. And they're like, well, we want to do that. And you can't say no.
The intervention is the bolt-action sniper rifle from the game Modern Warfare.
There you go. She didn't explain what she meant by needing an intervention. I didn't get it. But from what I've gathered since then, she either meant they needed to hold an intervention because I'm in denial about having PPD, and that's why I'm so upset with mother-in-law, or it was meant as them sitting me down and telling me how wrong I am for thinking mother-in-law would ever do anything hurtful or disrespectful towards me. Needless to say, no intervention was ever conducted for me, literally WTF. Since then, we have been pretty low contact with dear husband's side of the family, and I have removed them from all social media. One of my biggest issues with mother-in-law was that she would watch my social media posts and make rude remarks about things she felt we weren't doing right when it came to taking care of our daughter, like letting her walk around outside in tall grass without shoes. No!
Oh,
That's
good
humanity!
heavens!
Great snakes!
Shrimp on a stick!
Cut to the present day, our Dee Dee has just started daycare at the facility where sister-in-law works. To be honest, maybe we should look into a different daycare. Perhaps.
Yeah, unless you're getting my sister-in-law is committing crimes discount for $0.00, then
Ain't worth it. Sister-in-law is in a different room than Dee Dee, but she might see her briefly throughout the day or pop in to visit. Sister-in-law seeing Dee Dee every day isn't something I'm super fond of given the current state of our relationship, but that's more my own problem than anything. The daycare uses an app to connect with families, sending us updates throughout the day with specific details such as what time Dee Dee was dropped off/picked up, how much she ate, when she had a diaper change, and the contents of the diaper. They also send photos of Dee Dee participating in different activities. The information about Dee Dee is shared through this app only with dear husband and me. If we wanted to add others and give them access, we could, but we have chosen not to. On her first day of daycare, we sent a photo of Dee Dee to the family group chat that we have with the in-laws. During Dee Dee's first day, sister-in-law took some photos of her and texted them directly to dear husband. Not to me, and not through the app either, since she is not the teacher in Dee Dee's room. Dear husband told sister-in-law that moving forward, she needed to send photos to both of us and not just him. After 2 days of Dee Dee attending daycare, I was informed by our nephew's girlfriend that sister-in-law had been sending screenshots from the app, including all the info and photos that only dear husband and I were supposed to receive, to the rest of their family in a separate group chat that dear husband and I were not part of. Good. I mean, props to the nephew's girlfriend for letting you know.
Nephew's girlfriend.
But you need to go to the daycare center and be like, hey, this should not be happening. We were told that this was private information that was only going to us, and we've chosen not to share it with anyone, so it shouldn't be shared.
Yeah, sister-in-law is going to have to learn that your actions have consequences.
And she better be freaking fired, man.
Yeah, because if it starts there, but what happens when she's leaking other information about it? You know, it's just, she's got to learn you can't do that.
Yup. I was furious. Dear husband immediately called sister-in-law to confront her, and she claimed she hadn't meant to upset us and hadn't thought anything of it. She said she didn't intentionally do it behind our backs, and she just didn't think about it. As Dee Dee's aunt, she thought it wasn't a big deal and assumed that since I had deleted all the family on social media, we wouldn't want to be included in family group chats either. You're just either like stupid or you're going behind their backs on purpose. And I feel like it's the second one.
Definitely.
Even the ones that pertain to our daughter? To me, it seems obvious that sister-in-law knew she shouldn't have shared that information, especially without our knowledge or consent. I believe she intentionally chose to send the info and exclude us from the group chat so that we wouldn't know she had done it. It's exactly what she's doing. Her lack of accountability when confronted also leads me to believe that she doesn't really care if we're upset. She's just upset that we found out. Am I crazy for thinking there's no way she did this innocently? I have also contacted her boss to discuss this matter.
Yes.
I don't think she did it innocently.
There's no way.
I think given that we know, given the lead up to this point where the sister-in-law is actively I think this is the same sister-in-law. I know there's two. But if it is the same sister-in-law, she's been talking crap about you for a while. And now she's taking pictures and posting them. Like, it's not even taking pictures of the kid. It's like taking screenshots.
Seems like the apple does not fall far from the tree here.
No.
There's just fundamentally no respect for your boundaries or privacy there.
Yeah. It would still be super wrong if she was taking pictures of this kid without the parents' consent.
Right.
But it would make a little bit more sense to me than taking screenshots of supposedly a private account.
Right, like an in-app.
Yeah, in-app thing that's supposed to only be for the parents. Like, that's totally different.
Yeah, and the daycare is then going to go, okay, so what happens if you're sending pictures of other kids to group chats that we don't know anything about? Like, what are we doing here? You can no longer be trusted. You're losing your job. Go find another one.
They better do.
And that's what you're going to have to learn.
Yeah, and then she's going to be like, oh, it's Pete's fault. She got me fired from my job. I was just trying to share pictures of my niece.
I just love her so much.
I wasn't pictures of niece, but I have an OK story time where I almost got fired from a job for video recording.
Sacré bleu.
We get into that later.
Well, we'll find out more about that after this story. Update 2. Hello again, everyone. I want to update you on the situation I described in my previous post, and I'm seeking advice on how to deal with what has resulted from all of it. Ultimately, sister-in-law was suspended for 2 days from work. Good. After I had my conversation with her boss. Since then, my husband's other sister's husband, brother-in-law 2, 42, has reached out to my husband to let him know that everyone is taking a step away from us because of what I've done by coming after sister-in-law, and her job is not what family does to each other. Also, family doesn't freaking share inappropriate pictures without consent. But here we are.
Consent's hot and sexy.
If y'all have no respect for me, why would I have respect for you keeping a job you shouldn't have because you're doing one of the things you should never do when
Literally
you have that
the
job?
rules. You are not following the rules. It's not my fault, man. Can't blame me for all your problems, okay?
FAFO. F around, find out.
There we go. So true. I don't know why I thought that was some sort of like financial thing. I was like, what?
Have you invested in your FAFO fund?
Right? Doesn't that sound like something that would exist?
I think everyone should have a FAFO fund.
Everyone should. He told my husband that he believes this is all 100% my fault and that I'm either mentally ill or extremely vile and vindictive person for contacting sister-in-law's boss, and that he's not sure which is worse, but either way, it's something I can never come back from. He said that I have burned any bridges I have left with them, and that he, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law 2, mother-in-law, and our niece, 12, and nephew, 10, were all now hurting because of my actions.
Were they all hurting because of your actions?
Really?
You're telling me the niece is hurting too? You're telling me the other brother-in-law and sister-in-law are hurting from the sister-in-law being suspended for 2 days for doing something that she's not supposed to be doing at work? And that's all OP's fault?
Maybe it's, instead of a bad thing, maybe it's a wake-up call where sister-in-law goes, oh, I can't just do whatever I want whenever I feel like it.
Those were the rules that I said I would follow when I got this job? Shocking.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, I can't be sending pictures of the children I work with to people outside of the enclosed ecosystem that we have in the app?
Who would have thunk?
Oh, people take the privacy of children very seriously at my job? Crazy.
Insane.
You fool. You fool.
No, I wouldn't want to be around these family members either, honestly, because if this is how they're acting to you trying to set boundaries, then they freaking suck.
True. More trueness has never been spoken before.
I'm just a truther, man. He said that they felt bad for my husband and know that he's innocent and hasn't done anything wrong. He said they love him and that he will always have a place to stay at their home if he ever needs some time away, but that I am no longer welcome. And this is where again, the husband, I mean, maybe he is stepping in and we're just not getting that side of the story.
Doesn't sound like it.
But dude, like what? Like step up for your partner. Stand up to your family, because it seems like OP is doing all of the work of setting up these boundaries and having to talk to all of your family members. And that's not fair to her because now they all hate her.
It's true.
You should have been doing that.
So I say, if I've got a partner, if I'm married and my family comes after my partner, I'm not standing for it for a half second.
Nuh-uh.
No way. No how.
No way. I find it extremely odd that this is coming from my husband's other sister's husband, brother-in-law too, who has nothing to do with this situation. I think it's inappropriate for them to involve their younger children, our niece and nephew, who I've known all their lives, in this for them to even have any kind of feelings about it. This is also yet again another common thread of them saying that I'm not mentally well anytime that I do or say something to stand up for myself. Opie's like, hey, that was pretty rude. And they're like, you're crazy. Go to a mental institution.
Yeah, this is absurd. Absurd!
Wow. I'm also hurt that they could so easily cut me out of their family like this without ever actually speaking to me about anything. I'm not naive, and I obviously knew there was a good chance that sister-in-law and brother-in-law wouldn't want to speak to me after I contacted her boss. But I didn't expect the whole rest of the family to cut me off too. Where do we go from here? My husband obviously wants a relationship with his family and wants our daughter, female one, to have one with them as well. I want that too, I really do, but not without first being shown some respect and for them to take accountability for their part in our relationship getting to the state that it's currently in. My husband at one point suggested that he and our daughter continue going to family events for his side of the family, but just without me. Again, this guy's doing nothing. I'm sorry, I don't like your husband, OP. Now he's saying, oh, well, it's only you that they don't like. Like, I shouldn't have to not go. It's only you they hate.
Well, he's probably coming from a place where he's like, oh, well, now I'm going to have to deal with them.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you should have already been dealing with them.
Like, oh.
Dude, they're literally like slam dunking on your wife for standing up for herself and having a spine.
Yeah. You should have been dealing with them from day one, buddy.
100%.
We ultimately decided against this because it would make it seem like we aren't a team and would make them think that he agrees with them and would just be giving them what they want. Exactly. That's the whole point. They're trying to separate you guys. They want to isolate him from you because they hate you. And they want to control him.
Sounds about right to me.
any suggestions on what to do. I truly don't think anything will get them to understand where I'm coming from. And even if they agree to sit down and talk with us, I don't think that they would truly listen. Should I push for a discussion regardless, and then my husband can at least see that I'm not the one who's being entirely unreasonable here? Am I being entirely unreasonable here? Any advice would be appreciated. And there is a third update, but what do you think?
Get your husband on your side.
It's unreasonable that he's not already on your side.
Like, I don't know why your husband's not on your side. And I feel like the reason is because he's like, but my family's scary. Can't you see how scary they are? And it's like, well, it's time for you guys to start your own family, I guess, because these people suck.
Yeah.
And it's over something that shouldn't really be that big of an issue.
No, it's over a photo album and someone not doing their job right.
If they were more respectful about it and less just like completely dismissive of OP's like existence as a human being, it probably would be fine. But because they're just going about it in a way that like literally takes away any agency or opinion that OP could possibly have, and then instead they just go, no, OP, you're wrong, and you're bad, and you're wrong.
You're bad and you're wrong.
It's ridiculous. Where's the husband? Where are you?
Where are you? But there is a third update.
We're making that word badong. You're bad and wrong. Badong.
Badong.
This family's freaking badong.
Badong.
Kimberly Fine says because he's been conditioned to accept this behavior since birth, and OP is throwing a wrench in the cogs of their machine of malice. Whoa. I like that machine of malice. Malice. But there is a third update, so we're going to get into that.
We're going to swan dive right into it.
Hello, everyone. I have previously posted about my Just Know sister-in-law who unfortunately happens to work at my daughter's daycare and who recently broke several laws surrounding the privacy and confidentiality of our information that she has access to. And she's blaming you guys. She's blaming you guys for being suspended for 2 days when she broke several laws.
That was her fault. She did that. She chose to break the rules of her employment.
Yeah. If you're going to break some laws, you better be ready for the consequences.
And like if you work with kids, dude, you follow those freaking rules, dude. I taught kids how to snowboard.
Yeah.
There were rules about how we interacted with the kids. You follow the freaking rules.
Yep, because they're there for safety. One of my very close friends recently took her son out of this daycare and switched him over to a new one. I was initially under the impression that she made this choice because the other daycare was closer in proximity to her home than the one that my daughter goes to. So I didn't really ask her about it or think too much of it. This past weekend, I was hanging out with her one-on-one, and I opened up about the issues that I've had with my sister-in-law at the daycare. My friend, whose son had previously been in my sister-in-law's room at the daycare, then proceeded to tell me the real reason as to why she chose to take her son to a new daycare and get away from this one.
Mm-hmm.
My friend was called in for a meeting at the daycare with the 3 classroom teachers, the owner of the daycare, and a social worker. When she arrived at that meeting, they informed her that she was there because they wanted to discuss her son's behavior with her. They told her that they've already had him assessed, didn't specify what for, on 2 separate occasions because of the potentially concerning behaviors they felt he was displaying. I feel like you have to have the parents' permission to assess a child. No?
I mean, I guess it would depend who you are, what agency you are, what authority you have.
But yeah, I don't know. This seems...
I don't know. That doesn't sound right. It definitely doesn't sound right.
Neither she nor her husband had ever been informed of their son being assessed for anything through the daycare prior to this meeting. Each of the 3 classroom teachers, including my sister-in-law, then went on to describe what they described as concerning behavior being displayed by her son. They said things like he doesn't look them in the eyes all the time. Talking to him sometimes is like talking to a wall. He's 3. He doesn't play with different toys. He only wants to play with the same toy most of the time. He likes to organize things like cars and matching colors, etc.
It's just crazy. Talking to this 3-year-old is like talking to a brick wall.
He's so boring.
Why doesn't this 3-year-old understand the ins and outs of the East Asian stock market?
He won't engage with me about the economic state of our country.
It's like when I talk to him about asset portfolios, it's like he's 3 years old.
He doesn't even know how to invest. My friend said that it felt like what they were trying to do was lead her to an autism diagnosis, and they replied saying something along the lines of, they know how hard it can be to process this sort of thing or to recognize it in your own child. The convo was all primarily led by my sister-in-law, who has previously said to me that she thinks my friend's son has a touch of the tism. And this lady is the one part of this diagnosal process. And had even once sent me a photo of him working at something at the daycare that she felt was an example that proved this. Wait! Again, she is sending photos of other parents' kids.
Yeah.
To not the parents.
You don't really have a leg to stand on here.
Stop!
Like, stop it. Just stop. Stop it.
Get some help.
So now I'm thrown. The issue with sister-in-law is one thing, and while I do think she was likely the perpetrator to have made any of this happen, how is it possible that the person who owns the daycare sat there and allowed for this to happen? The social worker that had been brought in by the daycare sent my friend a very long email afterwards, deeply apologizing for what had happened in the meeting and emphasized the lack of ethics being followed by the daycare in this situation. She informed my friend that as a social worker, he isn't qualified to diagnose anyone with anything, let alone her son with autism, and was unaware that that was why the daycare had asked her to be there for the meeting. Yeah, I mean, like, these aren't professionals. Why are they diagnosing your son? I think they could make a recommendation. They could say, hey, we've noticed some behavior that we think maybe aligns with, an autism diagnosis.
Instead.
We recommend you going to a doctor.
Instead, they're like, yeah, your kid's weird, man. I don't know. He's got autism.
Again, he sucks to talk to.
Yeah, can't really carry a conversation. And also, he really likes one toy, which, as we all know, is not a normal trait for children whatsoever.
No, he's really into trains, and that's it. And no other child has ever done that.
Not me.
Yeah. My friend and I are looking for more information on what can be done about this, as we are seemingly hold on. Okay. Sorry, I had to readjust my eyes.
What?
You readjust your eyes?
Are you a robot?
I did not. Wait.
They're 1 second, everyone.
Oh, is that what you do that when you get like the not focused fuzzies? I get that sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes my eyes just don't want to focus.
Yeah,
but
and I'm like,
instead of doing that, I just do this.
Are you people robots? What are you?
I need to do the reset button. Hold on, everyone.
Oh no!
I'm back.
You're like BMO when they take their batteries out and they fall back. Just
I'm back. Ellie Dax says Barnabas would never with that kid.
Barnabas. I don't know. Man. Barnabas might try to squeeze some money out of that kid.
Yeah, Barnabas
would be like, Barnabas would be like, that kid's weird. He won't tell me how much money he has so I can charge him rent.
Barnabas doesn't believe in getting your child assessed.
Brenabas would just silently quietly whisper the anarchist cookbook into his ear.
Yeah.
He wouldn't care if he doesn't respond.
I'm back yet. I'm back again.
Brenabas.
My friend and I are looking for more information on what can be done about this, as we are seeing a pattern of the daycare owner seemingly gaslighting us into believing these issues aren't that big of a deal. This also just feels like it must be against the law in some way, but we aren't sure how, and it frightens us that the owner is letting something like this slide. I think you guys just need to go to a different daycare, because there are too many things that have happened at this daycare that seem pretty sus.
Yeah, there's got to be more, right? I mean, maybe they're in a small town, they don't have any options.
That's true. I mean, it also could be distance and stuff, or cost. But I think at the end of the day, it seems like it would be more beneficial in the long run to go to a different place.
Your best option is clearly not trying to fix this place.
No. She claimed that they didn't bring anyone in to assess my friend's son, but that they asked someone who was already visiting the daycare to check him out because that makes it better.
What?
Wait, like a parent or like a specialist?
What does that even
They're like,
mean?
I don't know. Someone was like walking past and we're like, hey, are you a doctor? And he was like, yeah. Turns out he had a doctorate in like English, but you know.
I had a doctorate in cartography.
Yeah, but he said this.
He said,
honestly, we think that he was the most qualified to assess this child for autism.
Oh,
he was really into cartography.
Yeah, he's really into cartography. He's like, well, based on my initial observations, this child is not a map, which makes him autistic.
And there you go. Where was it? Does anyone know anything about if daycares are even allowed to do something like assess a 3-year-old for autism or even allude to it? Should we speak to a lawyer? Any advice would be helpful. And there is a 4th update.
Yeah, I don't know if you speak to a lawyer. I think it's just a whack daycare. You get out of there.
I think you just leave the... I think it would be more... I feel like there would be more problems in trying to get a lawyer involved and probably more costs associated with that, and I feel like it's just better because right now nothing too crazy has happened beyond her sharing photos that she shouldn't be, which it does seem like they suspended her for
I would
that,
leave a review. I'd say
you could
don't go
absolutely
here.
Leave a review, but I don't know if enough, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but it doesn't seem like enough has happened to go to a lawyer and sue.
Yeah, I just feel like it's for your own personal
I think you just
sanity
get out of there.
and life. It's like you don't want to deal with a court case where you're suing an entity and they're going to come after you and then you have to go after them and you have to pay for a lawyer and it's going to cost all this money. It's like so you just leave.
Yeah.
Leave a bad review and get out of there. However, I do think if they there's a limit in which you'd go, all right, on principle I have to sue, but I feel like if they tried to take your kid and we reprogrammed your kid to not be autistic anymore. Now it's like, all right, you're getting lawyered.
What did
right
you
now.
do to my kid?
Stop reprogramming my child. You're a daycare. You're supposed to make sure he doesn't stick a fork in the electrical outlet while I'm at work.
The blind one says no school or daycare is allowed to make an assessment for a diagnosis, but Everyday Loser says yes, there are actually children education. Yes, they are. Actually, children education can diagnose without a doctor, but resources are limited and not recognized by medical professionals. So they can be like, yeah, that kid is autism, but it's not necessarily a formal diagnosis.
Yeah, he's like, we're pretty sure that kid over there is autistic.
Briology says, so they're definitely not allowed to do that as an instructor. You can suggest to the parent to speak with a pediatrician, which is what we were saying, about possible developmental delays, but you can't diagnose. Yeah.
And I don't think they did they? I think they were they were soft on it.
Yeah, they were like,
he's playing with one toy.
We brought a guy in
doesn't know
and
how
he
to
said that your
speak.
kid has autism, so there you go.
Yeah, which, by the way, maybe the 3-year-old just doesn't like you, and that's why they're not talking to you.
Yeah. One time when Sam was in preschool, there was this young boy who had autism, and I guess they didn't really give him enough what's the word?
Attention, care,
help. Yeah,
help,
there wasn't the resources. I don't know. They didn't give him enough resources. And one day my mom went to pick me up from the daycare and she was holding me and I was like maybe 1 or maybe less than 1. And he bit my foot and I started screaming. Yeah. My mom got really mad. That's my story.
I'm sorry. That's really funny to me.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining just a baby, just a shrunk down version of you.
Yeah. I'm like this tall, but my face is the same.
Yeah.
And my foot was
big head baby.
Yeah. So daycares do better. Get resources. I don't know. Jasmine XO says, I'm shocked this daycare doesn't have violations given that the social worker personally witnessed unethical behavior. My mom has a daycare and they're super strict. Yeah. But let's get into this next update.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. I've mainly posted about my Just Know in-laws up until now, but today I'm looking for advice on how to handle a situation involving my dear husband misremembering the events of what led to us going no contact with them several months ago. Crazy that dear husband is now the problem.
Yeah. It's like, I don't have a memory anymore. I don't even know. I was really busy watching the game.
Busy. And she's like, don't you remember when you freaking sent all those pics of me? He's like, no.
No,
Doesn't ring a bell.
all I remember is that the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl. That's all I remember.
To get more of the story, you can check out my previous post about my sister-in-law who is working at our DD's daycare and violated our privacy by sending out photos that she shouldn't even have had access to of our daughter at daycare to a group with at least 6 to 7 other members of my husband's family in it without our knowledge or consent. She did this only 2 days after my husband had talked with her at my request about her needing to send any photos she takes of DD at daycare to both he and I. She somehow interpreted that to mean she shouldn't send them to either of us, but should instead send them out to the rest of their family without ever telling us and assuming we'd never even know.
Oh, yeah, all right. That's a special kind of stupid. What are you talking about?
Dum-dum.
Really?
When
you think, yeah, sorry.
You think, yeah.
Sorry.
When we found out and my husband confronted her about it, she essentially blamed me by saying that since I had deleted her and the rest of the family on Facebook a month or so prior to this, that she took that to mean that I didn't/wouldn't want to be included in any of their family group chats. The thing is, that's true.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be included in any of the family group chats.
Correct.
But she also doesn't want you sharing private information about their child in any of the family group chats.
Ding, 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 ding.
Use your brain.
Yeah. That is the dumbest thing I've since you don't like any of us, I figured we would just send pictures of your children to each other.
Yeah, and we wouldn't tell you about it. That's fine, right? That's what you wanted.
Also, this is all your fault.
Yeah, and I hate you. This was such a dumb thing to say for so many reasons, but I digress. The whole of my husband's side of the family has since labeled me as mentally ill for being upset about this and for reporting the incident to her boss. So, needless to say, we have not seen them nor really even spoken to them at all since. Okay, now for the problem at hand with dear husband. Tomorrow, sister-in-law is giving birth to their first baby, a fact that was supposedly meant to be kept a secret from us. And dear husband is feeling depressed about the fact that we won't be included in anything to do with that and likely won't even be in her or any of their lives ever anytime soon. Who knows? I sympathize with him as I too have been mourning the fact that I'll likely never have a relationship with our niece and will likely never be able to see our children play/grow up together like we had always talked to and dreamed about. We used to be very close friends with sister-in-law and her husband before all of this and would hang out frequently and discuss the future family vacations and things we'd do together once we all had kids. Dear husband caught me off guard with his reaction to my mourning by saying that I should have thought about that before I put us in this situation and did this to us. And once again, I'm pointing out that all of this happened because he was a freaking coward who couldn't stand up to his family.
Because he couldn't rein in his own mom. But
and now he's turning on his own wife.
I agree with that though, partially. I don't agree that it's all her fault or whatever, but it is a thing where it's like when you know you're dealing with like crazy people and if you're trying to maintain a level of cordiality or peace, you do have to play the political balancing game, but that's only if that's what you want.
That's the thing.
And
I
if
think
you
she
don't
wanted
want
to set up
crazy people in your life and you want boundaries, and then they immediately make you an absolute villain for that, then that's their decision. And then you are free and clear to move on with your life without having toxic people control it.
And for him to retroactively be like, it's just all your fault, when presumably he was there for all of those decisions and decided to take a less active role in figuring out how to, deal with his family.
Yeah. No.
And then you're going to go blame your wife for that?
All her fault is crazy. I would say at the very most, it's a 75-25 split.
Well, I think it's...
And the negativity is coming 100% from his family. She just decided she was putting up a boundary.
Yes.
That's not a bad thing to do.
Okay, I think that how it turned out, when I say fault, I support her decision.
Yeah.
But yes, she may have caused this because she set up a boundary, but I also think that it's still majorly his fault that any of this happened because he should have been communicating all of this.
Well, yeah, he should have been.
Yeah.
But see, he probably doesn't have the skills to set up any boundaries with his family.
He's stupid.
And everything's been fine because he's never set any boundaries with them.
Yep. He went on to tell his version of what he believed happened and got us to where we are currently at in our relationship with his family. And it's entirely different than the way in which it actually went down. He's got a little revisionist history going on.
That's a classic Tarantino
Revisionist
move.
history.
We were talking about Quentin Tarantino earlier today.
It's true.
He
I've
does a lot of
never seen
revisionist
any of
history
his
in his
films.
movies.
You've never seen a Tarantino film?
I've seen 10 minutes of Kill Bill and 10 minutes of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, he's got a foot thing.
We
I haven't
know
watched
that.
it.
That's if you know anything
just
about
doesn't draw me
Tarantino,
in.
he's got a thing
I did
about
know
the
that,
feet.
actually. After he was done, I asked if I could explain how I remember things to have happened, as what he just said is not how I remember it to have gone. I got maybe one sentence out before he cut me off and angrily told me that he's sick and tired of me remembering things differently as time has gone on, to such a way that better suits my narrative. He's like, I'm sick and tired of you telling me that the way that I'm changing all of the history and all of the things that went down is wrong. I'm sick and tired of you remembering it correctly.
It's interesting because that is a real phenomenon where people will remember events differently.
People remember events differently based off of emotions.
Yeah.
Emotions play a huge. That's why memory is it's not factual.
Right. Yeah.
Because it is so influenced by our emotions, and you can actually. I mean, that's why people can block out memories that are so traumatic because our emotions have such a
But yeah.
I had to do a lot of memoir writing for a memoir class that I did in college, and it was all about how no memoir can be truly like factual because it's all
Well, we all live in our own
memory-based.
realities,
And we all
informed by
interpret-
our own memories and our own truths that
We
are all
interpret
relative
events
to our
differently.
understanding and interpretation of them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's whack for being like, your truth is dumb and I don't like it.
It sucks. I explained that I can understand that we're clearly both remembering it differently from each other, but that I was very confused because nothing about how I remember it has changed in the slightest since it happened. He claimed that my recollection of a sequence of events was completely wrong, and that I'm remembering it that way because it's what suits me and my idea that his sister was in the wrong for what she did. I am imagining that his family has gotten to him a little bit.
Yeah. This is definitely a guy who can't go against his family for 1 second.
And they've been telling him this whole time that his wife is the problem and that they will graciously take him back if he just comes to things alone. When I tell you that it took everything in me not to explode out of frustration, please believe me. What's the most annoying part about this is that he'd previously agreed with me when this all first happened, and he understood things the same way that I did. He didn't approve of me contacting her boss to report the issue. However, he'd said that at the time that he understood why I did it. Oh, wait. So he was saying he agreed and understood, like they had all both agreed on what the best course of action was. Okay, so OP is saying that they disagreed about contacting the boss, but that he was like, okay, I understand why you need to do it.
Why can't your sister have consequences for her actions?
What?
It's
Again,
like,
she didn't get fired. She got suspended for 2 days.
Yeah, and
For
it's,
breaking
she did
the
not
law.
lose her job. And it's
Or maybe not the law, but at least the rules of the daycare clinic.
And she should understand that when you work with children, the rules that are put there to protect them are ironclad,
important.
extremely important. You do not break them.
He ended up leaving the house out of anger because I wouldn't admit that I was remembering things wrong. I luckily had screenshots of all the conversations we'd had regarding this when it had initially happened that I then proceeded to send to him. He initially tried to double down, but when I then sent him the rest of the messages that would make it impossible for him to refute that, the way that I remember it is in fact the way that it actually happened, he asked if we could just talk about it more when he gets home. So frustrating. You literally have proof that you remember it correctly. And now he's like, oh, whatever. I don't want to talk about it.
I think the real issue is that they're like looking for like whose fault it is or like why it happened, and I think instead you need to be focused on like what are you gonna do now? What happens now? How do we move through
If you
this?
want to kind of rebuild the relationship that you have with your siblings, then you need to stand up for your wife and go back to them and say, hey, we were trying to set up boundaries and it seems like it got a little bit out of control, but we want to work on that while still, keeping the respect and boundaries that we need.
Yeah, I read something today. I feel like it's reminiscent of this. I was reading something today, and it was like someone about like inviting someone to the wedding, and then the child was like, "No, don't invite that person," and then the mom's like, "I already did, actually," and then the kid is still like the next day, like, "No, we're not bringing this person," and the mom's like, "I feel like this isn't even about the guest list anymore, and it's about like teaching me a lesson," and it's like, "Yeah, it is actually." It is now about teaching you a lesson because you are putting me in a corner and trying to force me to do something I've already told you I'm not going to do. So at this point, it's like same thing with like the daycare or it's like where it's if the family's like, you just did this because it got personal. It's like, yeah, it was personal. You are not respecting the boundary I set about photos of my kid, about photos of me, about all of this. All this started from a photo album.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Spiraling out of control.
Look at this photograph. It's you with your areolas out. It's like, bro.
Every time I see it makes me laugh.
I don't know what you guys are referencing.
Nickelback. You don't know about Nickelback?
She don't know Nickelback. She don't know.
Well, I know Nickelback
Tarantino.
is.
Look
I know
at
who
this
Tarantino
graph.
is. I guess my question here now is where do I go from here and how do I handle this in a mature way when he does get home? I don't want to rub it in his face that I was right the whole time and that he, in fact, was the one that had been remembering it wrong. But I'm also deeply hurt that he would yell at me and be so angry at me for something he was entirely wrong about. If I didn't have the screenshots to back me up, would he have just continued to yell at me that I'm remembering it wrong?
Of course.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Well, he was riding on you, not having proof so that he could gaslight you into thinking that he was in the right. I understand that he was 100% trying to gaslight me, whether he was doing it intentionally or not, but how do I go about addressing that in a calm and mature way that he'll be more likely to understand and hear? Any advice welcome, please, aside from telling me to leave him. And there is a 5th update. Again, Josephine, I know who Nickelback is. I'm aware who Nickelback is.
Who? Who is?
R. Whatever.
Plural. Every member. Brick by brick, they built their chronology.
I know who they are.
Brick by brick. Do you know how many platinum records Nickelback had in the
like 3
2000s?
No,
I don't know.
more.
Like a bajillion.
That's impossible.
I'm looking this up
It's
now.
not impossible. They're Canadian.
But
Nothing's impossible if you're Canadian.
I know I'm looking up Nickelback facts right now, but the fact remains
Yeah. What about this story?
The family, your in-laws, are the ones who are in the wrong. And if your husband can't see that, the path forward is to, I guess, either
it's like
try
how do
to
you have this conversation with your husband when he's so angry and just like so ready to cause a fight without actually listening.
If you want to fix this, then you're going to have to bypass the husband at this point and try to fix it yourself. And then if that doesn't work, you can just be at peace being like, well, I tried to be an adult and hash out and say, look, even though, and you can relent, you can be like, you've made mistakes. I've made mistakes. You talk to them like they're children.
The thing is that I don't think that OP could go to the in-laws right now when the husband is the farthest from her side that he's been this whole story. Like, I think that the only way that they could potentially improve the relationship with the in-laws is for them to both be working together as a team. Because
Perhaps.
It seems like the whole time they haven't been working together.
I mean, if he's already poisoned, it's like bypass him. Then if you can flip the family yourself, how dumb is he going to feel once the family then starts flipping him back? He's going to be like, oh, wait, was she right the whole time?
I personally think you got to go fix this with your husband, and you said you don't want to leave him. So I think that either you get some sort of mediator, maybe that's, going to counseling, and you have someone there who is going to make sure that you guys don't just get in this loop of like, no, I remember it this way. No, I remember it that way. So maybe that's one way. But I think that the worst thing to do now would be to show him the text and be like, look, see, I was right. Because you don't want to it's not going to fix it. Again, like maybe the answer would be leaving him, but again, you don't want to do that. So I think right now, if we're trying to avoid that, you don't want to just kind of rub in your face that you're right and he's wrong, even if that's true. So I think a mediator would probably be the best, or just approaching it from like, hey, I love you. I know that you're coming from a place of anger and sadness that you can't see your in-law or that you can't see your family. But we need to get on the same, I would love to get on the same page about how we can maybe approach restarting that relationship, while also being on each other's sides, because we're parenting together.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And we're partners.
That's a good approach. And then if he hits you with the no, I don't know what to tell you.
That's all I got for you.
You've done what you can at that point.
I know all the bands in here, guys. Okay.
This has nothing to do with the bands of Nickelback. This is just Dakota looking like Austin Matthews.
What? I wasn't looking at that one.
I look like
I was
pro
looking
athlete.
at the Josephine's comment.
It's crazy.
She don't know Nickelback.
Also, I think Nickelback has 12 platinum albums, which that is crazy.
That's like basically 3.
If you multiply it by 4.
Exactly. Basically 3. But there is another update. So let's get into it. Hello, all. Here's a little backstory to help explain what I'm looking for in terms of advice. I've been having issues with my in-laws for the past few years, and recently we've been more or less no contact with them, including not being invited to their family Christmas this past year. I had reported my sister-in-law to the daycare that she works at, which is also the daycare that our DD attends, for taking screenshots of photos and information shared to my husband. Sister-in-law is not a teacher in the room that our DD is in and has absolutely no reason to even be accessing that information, which is supposed to be private to only myself and my husband and the teachers that actually work in my daughter's room at the daycare. We had initially confronted her about this issue, to which she took no accountability and more or less tried to blame me for it happening, claiming that it was because I had deleted all of them on Facebook. I then reported her to the owner of the daycare, and after that, she and everyone else on my husband's side of the family has stated that they no longer want anything to do with me, as they believe that I'm evil and vindictive and trying to get my sister-in-law fired. Again,
it's not even about. First of all, she's not fired, and
she's not fired.
What are these people? The consequences of your actions. When will you learn?
When will you learn?
When will you learn that your actions have consequences?
If you are speeding on the highway 150 miles per hour.
Oh, yeah.
And someone's like, hey, police, I just saw someone speeding on the highway 150 miles per hour. Is it their fault or is it your fault for
speeding on the highway? It's your fault. If you're going 150, go to the track. Go to the track.
Go to the track. They attempted many times to get my husband to attend their family events without our DD, but without me. After several attempts, they realized that it wasn't going to happen, so they stopped inviting all 3 of us to anything, including their family Christmas. Okay, so the problem at hand is that my mother-in-law will be having a significant birthday in the coming months, and I have a feeling that they'll be doing some kind of party to celebrate. My worry is that mother-in-law or any of her various flying monkeys will be reaching out to my husband and saying something along the lines of it being her birthday wish to have all of her children and grandchildren in the same room together. And that does not include me. Frankly, I think she's just using the fact that it's her birthday as an excuse to try to guilt my husband into going with our daughter and leaving me at home, which they've made very clear in the past is what they want, but have been unsuccessful in getting. Now, if I thought that this was just a one-time deal, then maybe it would be something that I would consider allowing, but I have no doubt that this would set the precedence moving forward, that my husband and our DD would be expected to continue attending their family events, and that I would not be invited.
Yeah, that's
absolutely what they're gonna do. And it sounds like your husband is already halfway there in terms of, what he wants to do.
Why is your own husband othering you,
your
brother?
Your own husband's an op. I've spoke to my parents about this, who I have an incredible relationship with. However, they're questioning why I won't just let it happen and stay home. I've explained to them that I don't think it's appropriate for my daughter to be going anywhere that I'm specifically being excluded from. I've told my husband that he is more than welcome to do what he wants, but that I can't allow him to be taking our daughter anywhere that I'm being intentionally excluded from by people who actively dislike her mother. There are so many reasons as to why I'm not comfortable with this, primarily being that I don't trust that they won't say negative things about me around our daughter, and that my husband doesn't always pick up on as they are usually said covertly, or under the guise of coming from a place of concern. Or your husband's just dumb and doesn't care and doesn't want to stand up for you.
That part. Your husband's not a complete idiot.
He's a coward.
He just doesn't want to deal with standing up for himself.
Yep. My husband is generally supportive of this decision, though at times he wavers and might not necessarily see that she's using her birthday as an excuse to guilt trip him into doing what she wants.
Yeah.
It frustrates me that my own parents don't see it that way either and think that I'm potentially just giving them more ammunition to say that I'm withholding our daughter from them as a form of punishment.
But they're withholding your ability to be present at family gatherings as a form of punishment. They're doing the same thing.
They're doing the exact same thing.
And of course you wouldn't want your daughter going somewhere where everyone's going to bash you and your husband's not going to stick up for you.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here?
No, I don't know. It just seems like your parents and your husband are not looking at or not caring about your feelings at all.
It feels like the husband needs help. It
does.
feels like the husband needs therapy to realize that his family is toxic as frick.
Yeah.
It's
just when you are parenting with someone, when you have a partner the life partner that you have a child with, unless you're divorcing them, you need to make sure that you guys are operating on the same page as often as possible and figuring out things that you guys disagree with rationally and respectfully, and making sure that no one else is disrespecting your partner.
Agreed.
All right. Would you let your child go if you were being specifically excluded by your in-laws? Any advice welcome. And there is a 6th update. Man, oh man.
Let's go.
Really quick.
Okay.
I think that I agree with you. You cannot disallow your husband from attending these events because he's an adult and this is his family. But I honestly think that it makes sense that you don't want your kid to go to these events because we already know that they've crap talked you to other people. And we already know that they don't like you and that they're excluding you on purpose. So I think that it makes sense that they probably will start, bad talking you to your daughter when she is conscious of it.
Of course. Yeah. And what if we do this? Are we rocking with this? What if we do this?
Okay.
What if we just roll up uninvited?
Ooh.
What if we just rock up to the party uninvited? What are you going to do about it? Here I am with my husband and our daughter. What are you going to do about it?
What do you have to say about that?
What are you going to do about it? And then maybe their absurd reaction will then prompt your husband to snap out of it and go, oh, these people are literally slam dunking on my wife for having a boundary. And also, your sister broke the freaking law, dude. Your sister shouldn't be working with kids if she's that stupid that she thinks that was okay.
Caitlin Von Compet says, this story started with some nip slip pics sent to the fam. LOL, I totally forgot the beginning for a second there. And again, I want everyone to remember, who freaking sent those? Her husband. He is the problem at the center of this story.
Mother asks, mother gets. Mother gets whatever she wants. And apparently, has not done a good job of teaching her kids consequences either. Because the sister-in-law thinks that she should be able to do whatever she wants without any consequences as well.
And that's not true. Well, it happened just as I expected it would. I recently posted on here about mother-in-law's upcoming birthday and how I assumed there would be some kind of party for her that I wouldn't be invited to. To be clear, I don't care that I'm not invited, and I honestly wouldn't want to go either way. But it's the principle of the matter, as my husband's family seems to think it's perfectly fine for them to all cut me off and pretend I don't exist, and yet still expect my husband and our Dee to attend all of their very frequent family events without me. So last week, the oldest sister-in-law texted dear husband asking him to have a phone call and that it wasn't anything serious. He calls her and she right away says that they're going to be having a party for mother-in-law an hour away from where we live And she wants to know if he were to come, who all would be coming with him. That's, oh my God, such a thinly veiled plot there.
Who's coming with you? Is it the person I hate?
Is it just, because the thing is that you can only have a +1.
Yo, and it can't be your wife.
And it can't be your wife because we don't like her.
We hate your wife.
Yeah.
Don't bring her. You should hate your wife.
Someone's in the background going, hate your wife.
Hate your wife. Hate your wife.
But it's
evil,
in reverse.
evil. Have you seen Adventure Time? It's like with the Flame King's in his little gas lamp, and he's going, evil. He's
exactly what's happening on the phone call. He told her that if we were to go at all, it would either to be all 3 of us or none of us at all. She then said, well, younger sister-in-law and me, OP, can't be in the same room as each other, so I guess that means you won't be coming then. He said, I guess it does. And they hung up. Okay, at least he finally freaking did a little bit.
So there's something.
There's something there.
There's some motion going there.
Yeah, he went, I guess it does. And he was like,
consider it
stick
mocked.
it to them. If you read any of my previous posts, I hope you too would find it comical that younger sister-in-law is the one who can't stand to be in the same room as me, because realistically, it should be the other way around. She used her position at Dee Dee's daycare to do something against the law. I reported her for that, and yet she's the one who can't be in the same room as me? Like, why? What? Why?
That was such a good transcription of that.
Thank you. What is this trying? Like, why? What would she do? Fight me? Like, why? What would she do? Fight me? Would my presence truly upset her so greatly that she can't be around me, or is that seeing me would only stand as a reminder of the mistakes she made, whether or not she's willing to admit them? But you know what? I'm going to admit to you.
Dude, I admit it fully right now.
You can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search up OK Storytime. My alternative version to that was going to be, but you know what you can do even when you're not in the same room as us? Listen to full episodes of stories just like this.
You can't keep going.
Just go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app and search up OK Storytime.
Yeah.
And now you have 2 options to choose from.
It's beautiful. Wonderful.
And ain't that just a beautiful thing? And we got another
Oh,
beautiful thing.
Chippy. No.
Oh, he only says tail.
No, it's because there's food, so he circled back. Oh, yeah.
But there is a little bit left
sir.
to this story. So we're going to finish it off unless you have any final thoughts.
It's good that your husband is taking somewhat of a stand, or not a stand, but at least
more of like a half sit.
Taking your side in some
squat?
capacity.
Yeah. He's like, this is him. This is his stand.
And then the mother goes, sit down.
Okay. And then he sits right back down.
Yeah, I'm liking this. What is she going to do? Fight me? That's right. Roll up. See what happens.
Roll up.
Just see what happens.
What's
and
she
be
gonna
like,
do?
They're like, why did you still come? And you're like, see, I wanted to show you what it looks like when someone isn't respecting your boundaries.
Roll up with a bunch of rings on your hands. Ready to throw hands.
Gauntlet.
Throw those hands.
Gauntlet.
I guess I'm just left wondering if anyone else has been through anything similar with their in-laws. How can this really go on for, like at what point will the rest of their family turn around and blame sister-in-law for them ever being able to see any of us because she can't stand to be around me, or will they just continue to appease her for the rest of their lives and paint me as the villain? It's all just so dumb, frustrating, and rather pointless, honestly. And that is the end of that story, man. Oh, man. But yeah, not your fault, man. You're trying to set boundaries, and your husband is just letting it all happen until now, it seems.
I'm never a fan of the whole I'm being an adult and being like, I can't be around that person.
It's so silly.
Like, unless it's like, there's some times where it's like, all right, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
But the vast majority that I hear, it's like, dude, you're just being an actual baby.
You're just being a baby.
You're being a baby. Like,
I think
little
unless there are
baby.
like this person has hurt you physically or just
Yeah.
traumatized you.
If there's acute trauma associated with this
It's like,
person, it's like,
don't
that's
subject
fair.
yourself
You
to
don't need to
that.
be in the same room
But
as
if
that
it's
person.
just like they kind of pissed me off.
Yeah, it's
Come
like
on.
grow up.
Literally.
We
have to deal with people we don't like all the time.
Exactly. And if from a perspective of when you're the one who's been wronged, don't let them win. You're letting them still control where you go, how you move, who you see, what you do. That's them winning.
Don't let them win.
Don't let them win.
But that was the end of that story and the end of this episode.
So, if you love us, make sure you subscribe. We love you, and see you tomorrow.